So I guess some of you already have seen on our homepage that we have like a take a tour of Wing window, where we have a nice tutorial that walks you through building like a cool application, smart queue that saves the last message to a bucket, kind of similar to Elad's demo. So I wanted to take it a step forward and just make some more cool tutorials, and we thought that it makes sense to start with just a tutorial for every resource that we have in our standard library.
Let's not start with the bucket.
Oh, damn. I really, really want to start with the bucket. Just to show Eyal's bad English, unless he corrected the... But yeah, so we have 4 resources. Let's start with Eyal's favorite one, the counter. I'm going to share my screen. So just share screen. Okay. Okay, so hopefully I'm sharing the right one. So this is the tutorial that some of you already know, the tour, like with that you can go through.
Nobody knows about it. Well, I don't think we've talked about it.
We haven't. I don't think we talked about it, but it's connected. Like it's the main button from our homepage. So maybe someone has already seen it. But basically, you walk through building this cool smart queue where you just put a payload in, and then it puts it into the queue, and it will save the last one. Let's see, the last message into the bucket. So if I go to the bucket now, you can see that there is a latest. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, and my message. So the tutorial goes through all the stages of building this cool application. But that's the tour that some of you already know, and it's in production. But now I want to show you first ever preview. You see, it auto completes to the bucket because that's what I looked at before.
I can't see anything actually.
Oh, so never mind. Let's reset counter. So this is this version is like a pull request that's not merged yet, but let's see what these tutorials look like. So we have we start off pretty easily. By the way, Mark, Elad, just feel free to direct me here. And
Mark, what do you think about the counter? Like I remember we introduced it. I'm curious. People have like interesting emotional connection to it.
Yeah,
I think it's like the first because it's not a cloud resource. I mean, it is. It's a distributed system primitive. I think that's kind of the romanticism there, is that it's like because Bucket. I mean, I can understand Bucket as not AWS and GCP and stuff, but Counter, that's almost like an atom of the universe. Like it's almost nothing. Right? Yeah, it's an atomic integer distributed in a distributed system, basically. And like having those is the more of those we can have, like the more powerful I think we can be to provide like the lowest level building blocks. I mean, we love building abstractions, but you can't build abstractions until you have the lower abstractions first too.
Right.
So that's I think it is particularly exciting to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an incredibly powerful tool, but we do get some flack over it because basically all our other resources are mapped one-to-one to some actual cloud resource. And this counter, there is no counter in AWS or Azure or GCP. So we need to kind of make the choice for the developer how to implement the counter behind the scenes. And we're gonna actually the tutorial shows that choice, and so we get some flack about that choice because obviously we'll get there. You know what? So this is the beginning of the tutorial. So we explain a bit about the resource and what it can do, and then obviously we say that you can check the simulator and interact with it a bit. And then this is something that probably you haven't seen before, even if you have seen the tutorial, is that we have two tabs here. We have the Wing Simulator, but over here we have the AWS Terraform. So over here we can see the Terraform that's being generated when we compile this to AWS. And as you can see, the actual resource that this counter generates is a DynamoDB table.
And you're looking at me.
Yeah, it's hard. We're sitting at the same place. So it's a DynamoDB table, and DynamoDB tables have some limitations. So, for instance, the number of operations per second or per minute is it's capped. So one can argue that this is like this choice of ours to use DynamoDB might not be the best one, or not fitting for every type of application. But I think that it's okay, because although we make the choice for the developer, Wing is flexible enough and extensible enough so you can change that behavior. You can configure you can create your own counter resource. You can put whatever you want behind the scenes and make sure that it's up to your requirements. But for most cases, I think DynamoDB table should suffice, as long as we document what the limitations are.
Yeah, but I want to say that I feel like this is definitely like treading in perilous waters, right? And I think I'm aware of that. Like I feel like we're like when you're creating an abstraction, it's like an art in a sense, right? Like there's like you can fuck it up. You can really easily fuck it up. And I think counter is like one of those examples where there's this thing called accidental complexity, and that's an example that can fall on the wrong side of that spectrum, right? Because it's not a black and white thing. Like I think like when you're familiar with the accidental complexity?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Mark, are you familiar with accidental complexity?
Yeah, but go ahead, and you should for the audience.
Yeah. Anyway, so
it doesn't sound suspicious at all.
Yeah, I think the challenge is that there's a complexity that's accidental, that could be a result of like something that is unintentional. And so if our developer uses a counter, they have some kind of a mental model of like what that is, and we need to make sure that the mental model that they have is empathetic to the complexity that this creates, and that it's not a trivial thing to strike, right? Like one of the ideas that came up at some point is like, why don't we have like primitive, like why isn't a counter just an integer, right, in the language? And we could do that. Like we could create like a language primitive that will be called, instead of int, it'll be called distributed int, right? Or atomic int or something like that. And distributed atomic int. and convert it into a cloud counter. And that's maybe something we will do in the future. I'm not even saying that we don't, but there's like this interesting trade-off between choosing that and choosing, a resource, something that like looks like a resource, looks like a bucket. I don't know, blabber too much.
Yeah, sure. I can't see anything on the screen because I'm on the...
So Hakan Soul said a counter is a value in DynamoDB. I was wondering if adding more counters would mean that they all belong to the same DynamoDB table or different ones.
So actually, when we I think we have API for counter that allows you to specify the key, right? Mark, do you remember?
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I can't remember offhand.
Other one.
What's that? You don't remember? I think like there's an API for counter that allows you to create a counter by name, to specify, basically increment it by name. This is two separate resources, right? And so two separate resources are two DynamoDB tables.
Yep.
But I think like counter has, in the spec at least, has an API that allows you to, when you say c.inc inside an in-flight,
So,
without the V.
Yeah.
In flight. Yeah. Anyway, we don't have to check it. I think like there should be support for like multiple counter keys inside a counter. So it's basically the same dynamic.
It's a bit leaky, isn't it?
We'll discover it some other day.
A bit leaky in what sense?
Well, I guess you're saying the counter key. Oh no, I guess not. I guess we're not saying what it's a key to. It's just a key.
Well,
so never mind. That's fair.
Yeah, it's just the key. It's just a key to like you can actually have each counter can hold multiple values, and each one can be referred to through a key. That's all. And again, it is leaky in the sense that it's like saying, hey, like there's an implication to an instance of a counter, right? Like it goes back to this empathy. And so this counter API offers a way for you to like use the same instance to store multiple keys. So like it's signaling that there's some difference, right, between the two ideas. Not saying that it's right. Like I don't know if makes sense.
Yeah, but let's move on to the next. So the tutorial goes on, and after we create a counter, we go on to basically explore the in-flight API of the counter. So you can see here that we have an in-flight, and it just uses the inc, the reset, the deck functions, and then it's also inside of a cloud function, and we can just invoke the function, and we can see in the logs all the different logs that we saw. We can actually explore it here. I don't get any deltas, but you say that if I put like a string here, so now it will be two different counters.
I think so, but I don't know if it's supported. I remember it was spec'd, but I'm not sure if it's supported.
Yeah, actually, it is different than what we had before, but we'll explore it later. Anyway, in the Terraform, the way it looks is you can see now that the Terraform is much more complex, right? So we have this counter that's represented by the DynamoDB, but what does the S3 bucket doing here? I mean, we don't have a bucket, right? But if you think about it, we need a bucket to store, like we have a function here, we need somewhere to store, and that function it has this JavaScript code, and we need somewhere to store this JavaScript file in. So that's why we have this bucket here for, and then we have the example code, this function. So it has an IAM role with a policy, right? Because it needs to have permission basically to access the DynamoDB table, which is our counter. So we have exactly the actions that it's able to do based on the operations that we have on our counter here, and so on and so forth. And then next step is that we're going to explore the pre-flight API, because as Elad showed in the demo, each resource has different API for pre-flight operations and for in-flight operations. With a counter, we don't have too many pre-flight APIs, so nothing to really do here, just to show that we can init the counter with an initial value. So we init the counter here with 999, and we click it, and we see that it was initialized with 999.
You know that you don't need the counter props here.
Yeah,
one of my favorite features of Wing, by the way.
Yeah. So
right, Mark?
Yeah. So you can also do.
It's really key. It's really, I love it. It's it's such a clean. It's kind of like Swifty.
Yeah. It's much cleaner. We'll fix it. As we said, it's not a production ready tutorial, and then the last step is just to demonstrate the fact that the counter is indeed atomic. So what we have here is that we have a counter, a bucket, and a topic. And basically, a topic is a resource where you can have multiple subscribers of. So we have 2 subscribers to the topic, and one of them, like both of them, just increment the counter. And we have a function that just does the same operation 99 times. Like it just publishes the number to the topic. So if the counter was not atomic, we would expect to have some race condition here, and we would expect to see the counter in the end not reach the value of 100, right? So let's see what.
Wait, can you stop on some of the? I think like the language side is. We can show some stuff. Like one of the things that pops in is if you drag down the range. I like the range is also like a nice. It was actually externally someone contributed the implementation of it.
Yeah, and we're still not like. It's not clear from the documentation. We basically haven't decided if it's inclusive or non-inclusive. Right now, the implementation is not
non-inclusive.
It's non-inclusive.
Which is what should be.
We'll not start the debate right now.
I mean, I think that's what the spec says. I'm not sure that it's not about the debate. I mean, we can debate the spec, but that's what we.
Yeah, I think the spec says different things in different places, but never mind.
That was Marcio, right?
Was that?
That was Marcio, right?
The contribution.
The range. Yeah, the range was from him.
Sounds about right, but if it wasn't, then sorry, whoever contributed.
Oh yeah, Marcio is saying yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, thank you.
There we go.
Kudos.
Yeah, actually, if we had to guess who contributed anything,
yes,
Marcio would be.
Yeah, there's like all the AWS CDK stuff is Marcio is like basically becoming a maintainer of like this part of the project.
Yeah,
which is amazing. It's really, really amazing to have you involved.
Yep, for sure. Elad, you want to go over some other parts of the code?
Sure. I mean, no, I just wanted to know.
Okay, so let's invoke. Let's see what happens. So we invoke.
Clear the logs first. Oh no. Okay. Luckily, it didn't take 2 hours.
So we invoke the function, and let's see the bucket. So we see that we have all the different numbers, and we have like, okay, so the last one has the value of 198, and let's see the counter. Yep, 199. So basically, we have because it's 2 consumers, so we have 99 times 2. The counter was incremented, and there was no race condition anywhere, and no increment that was lost. So we're ready. We have a counter. Yeah, and we need to fix the wording here because it says that it should be the counter should be 100 and not 199, but obviously we know that it should be 199. So that's the counter resource. I don't know. I don't think we have enough time to go over others, right?
That took like 3 times the amount of time.
That is mortified by the option that it's going to happen.